Hey, welcome to the Runaways podcast. My name is Cody, and we are back for another week with a ton of news. Tons of things have happened so far this week. We had 2 tournaments, technically 3 with LL. We had a dev video that just came out. We had a band that came out. So we're going to talk about a lot of that. CYB made 2 top 8s. Just going to throw that out there. Someone has to eat a card on stream, I think, this week. This reason. There's so much stuff that's happening right now. But to start off, we have Lucas with us. Lucas, how's your week been? I know you're doing school and work, a bunch of other things, but you need to be testing for Worlds soon. I figured you're happy about LL, so I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I kind of have thoughts on everything, so I'll save a lot of that for when we actually talk about things. But my week in FAB, I haven't been doing a whole lot of testing. Don't tell Cody; he'll get mad at me. But I really plan on cranking it up soon. In the next week or so, I'll start really getting into that. But like you said, I have had a lot of school and work stuff going on. But I went to Milwaukee this last weekend. I was at the Battle Hardened there. I did not play in the ProQuest Plus event because I didn't think I could. Well, actually, it's because my car just wanted to go home. But I did not play in that. But I did play in the Battle Hardened. I played Enigma. I only had a few reps on the hero before the event, but I ended up managing to make top 8. I got 8th. I was the only 5 and 2 to actually make top 8. So lucky. Yeah, the event was okay. I basically played 4 non-games and won them all. And then I played 1 real game and I won it. And then I lost my next 3 games in not the greatest fashions, 2 of which were on stream to Bolton. But it's all right. This format before the DO Armory deck feels pretty fun. I don't think anything is super problematic by itself. Maybe Enigma could be a little too strong, but I'm not sold on that. Yeah, I just kind of had a boring week. I didn't do a whole lot of FAB, but I am very excited to keep going. The dev download, I'll be honest, it kind of got me fired up to like win. Mostly just because every time somebody's like, "Who's your pick to win an event?" and they don't say my name, I get a little annoyed, and I'm like, I should be everyone's pick. I have to win some tournaments, man.
You were the pick, and then you didn't win, but then you won, and now you're not the pick.
Exactly.
I think that's how.
Wait, did somebody pick me for something?
Yes, they mentioned you at least in a different.
Oh, awesome!
For people to look out for was it Amsterdam? I think that was the one.
Well, that doesn't look great. Retrospect.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that too.
Yeah,
that wasn't a good choice.
So, no, you lost to Bolton twice on Enigma. I think sideboarding was a big issue in those 2 games, right?
And play, and matchup experience, and probably deck list, and skill as a player, and intelligence and general motor function was probably the advantage.
I'm assuming they probably had 20 times as many reps in Enigma as you had. Bolton.
He sits down and he's like, whatever, blah blah blah. I think I'm like this percentage win rate going first, this percentage win rate going second. These are like the most important cards. This is like how I think you're supposed to play it. This is the top priority, and I'm like, I feel like I should play Fate for Seath in this matchup. Like, it feels like there might be a bit of a knowledge gap here, but yeah, he's a very good player. Actually, his name's Alex. I'm blanking on his last name before, but he's beaten me all 3 times we've played, and there are
Alex Tyler.
There's not very many people who could say that. So he is very good on Bolton specifically.
Cool. And Dan, I know you and I just got done with a couple hours worth of testing, but besides that, how's your week in FAB been?
It's been all right. I'm kind of getting very crushed by work at the moment, and will be for the foreseeable future, so that's not great for my testing, but I got into armories this week, which is good time. I think one was constructed, one was draft. Been doing very well at locals with Aurora, which makes sense. She's aggressive, gonna do well early. Yeah, I don't know. Having a lot of fun playing that, kind of dooming for when DO comes out and I can't play the deck I like anymore, but that's okay. Drafting's been a ton of fun though. I'm having a lot of fun with this set. A lot of archetypes to explore within the different heroes.
I mean, I will say this: I am terrible at this draft so far. I normally like come out of the gate swinging, like super good at draft right away. This draft's been really hard for me to dig in like I normally have. I'm gonna have to legitimately sit down for like a week straight and probably grind out games. I know some of it's lack of reps, but something is not initially clicking with this draft. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get it figured out by Worlds. Yeah. It's just been a different experience where I'm sitting down and I'm like, drafting decks, and I'm like, I can't win games. Like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
I echo that as well. I've also had a lot of initial struggles with this draft format. The first 2 times I drafted, pretty good. Or the first 3, pretty good results. Since then, it has been not great.
Yeah, so I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna have to sit down and grind it out. I have no fear that I'll have great strategies be ready to go by Worlds. But it's been not like an immediate pickup. Oh, I know how to win this format.
Yeah,
so
I feel
if
pretty
you're-
behind in general, unlike both, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna use ProQuest to catch up, I guess.
Yeah. So I will say out there, like, if you're listening and you're struggling in the draft, you're not the only one. I mean, there's a lot of people are struggling in this draft.
It's really deep.
to really get it to click. Yeah, it seems really deep, so I'm hoping that's the case.
Yeah,
Every time I play against an opponent, their deck is completely different than any deck I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I'll like sit down. Oh, this deck's so good, and I'll sit down, and my opponent's just like mono cussing dirge, and they're just like cussing dirge, 3 rounds in a row, and I just like lose to just the rune chance. I'm like, what deck is this? Like, this is a different game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of polarizing stuff going on between like the matchups and like sometimes arcane polarity is like a lose the game card. Sometimes you win on the spot.
Yeah. Tough. Okay. So let's jump into the first tournament we want to talk about. It's going to be the Battle Hardened in Milwaukee, which is the one that you went to and what happened to top. We did obviously have our top 8. Our top 8 was pretty diverse. We had 2 Verdants, and those Verdants decks were completely different. We had Levi. He was running the more standard, I would say, Verdance deck, the one without Count Your Blessings. And then we had Luke Magnuson, who was running a Count Your Blessings version. Sam Dando topped with an Aurora build. I believe that was combo Aurora, if I remember correctly. And then we had Aaron Fagade. Sorry if I probably butchered that. On Viserai. And then we had Nick Gabler, who ended up winning the whole thing on Viserai as well. Sage was on new, the only new to top, I think, this whole weekend. I don't think there was a new in the calling, but that ended up making it there. And then Alex Tyler, we talked about on a Bolton as well, and then yourself on Enigma. The only Enigma in the top. Actually, the Enigma was the most played, and you were the only person who ended up topping with it, which I think is pretty surprising.
Also, not to dog on myself, but I was also X2. So of all of there were 7 players who were X1 or better, and none of them were playing Enigma.
Yeah. We ended up having the finals ended up being Viserai versus Verdants, and it was the Count Your Blessings Verdants, which was very strong, and I believe had won the match earlier in the day, if I remember watching correctly. I know he did beat a Viserai on stream. By Count Your Blessings. I actually thought Luke was going to win this one, but he had some pretty awkward draws in that game. And that Viserai deck is just all gas, no breaks. But anything here surprising out of those in the top 8? I think Viserai is a little bit surprising.
Yeah, I mean,
no one's talked about it.
I mean, everything in the top 8 I thought was surprising. I mean, the one-off, like 1 Bolton, 1 new is like whatever, but like 2 Verdants, 2 Viserai, only 1 Enigma, being me going X2, having 4 buys. Like,
yeah, the Enigma set's pretty surprising.
Yeah, like this is kind of the opposite of what I expected. I expected like a lot of Enigma, and then decks that are good against Enigma.
How many players were there roughly?
116.
Okay,
so decent size.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Hard.
Yeah, Battle Harden's gonna be tough because it's usually like very localized with who makes it out there, right? So it's usually like the better players that are topping. Clearly with like not. Some matchup variants thrown in there.
Clearly not, because they let me top.
No, I think the Viserai deck is not something that we've seen. At least it wasn't publicized. It wasn't doing, it had no Mob Skies in it at all. It was just all gas. We're just going to have go again, 0 for 4 or 0 for 5, essentially, when you make the rune chant. And we're just going to do that every round and hope that is enough to kill you.
We also saw Brody Spurlock over in Leon. He went 9-3 with a similar strategy of just no mobs, all gas, 5 hats, no breaks.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious to dig into that build a little bit and see how it actually matches up against some of the things in the meta, like the Aurora, Dash.io, and eventually that comes out to see if it has some sticking power. But it's incredibly consistent for a Runeblade deck.
Yeah, it feels like. Go ahead.
I was gonna say math wise, it seems very similar to Aurora, where you're trying to do
Mhm.
like all of your cards are 0 for 4s or 0 for 5s. But you are introducing like some pitching to play like 1 costs and like rattle bones and such. So there's a little added variance with like playing blues versus not. I think is the main difference, but I think you're getting like a higher potential damage ceiling as a
You
trade off.
you also your cards, a lot of them are like slightly more flexible. I think your 3 block density is higher, and your no block
Mhm.
density is definitely lower.
Yeah.
And you also have a couple added bonuses like Reaping Blade, like it has text
Yeah.
sometimes, and Rune Chants are a lot more consistent in him, which probably I would have to imagine makes like his Enigma matchup, for example. Maybe not better than Aurora, but like that's a strength in that sort of matchup is that like all of his cards are like they're 0 for 4s, but they're 0 for 3 and 1, which is a big deal against any like D-react decks or anything trying to block you out can be nice. Also, he has better setup potential than Aurora. Just like Rune Chance being stackable is better than Aurora's
Yeah.
nothing.
Definitely worse with
Oh, she has
Warmongers.
channels.
Channel,
That's a
channel,
pretty good
channel.
setup.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Susceptible to Warmongers. though.
Yes,
Um,
definitely a lot of strengths and weaknesses to both, but they're both pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if you need
Uh,
like a higher damage ceiling, that's when I'd start looking at Viscerai over Aurora. If you're like, because her output's like super consistent, but it's like kind of
Yeah, she's fine.
not flatlined. Whatever the right word is, like you're capped at a certain number. Like
Yeah.
you can't get more than 5 points per card. You just can't.
Yeah.
Where Viscerai sometimes can get a little crazy and go above that.
Yep. I will say, looking at Luke's deck, is a Count Your Blessings deck. Got second place. I thought the deck was good. It was expected.
It's also like not exactly a Count Your Blessings deck in the sense that we were like complaining about last week though. Like it's like a Verdance combo deck. Just playing Count Your Blessings is like it's not like a fatigue deck. It's like similar, but I don't know. It feels different.
Purposely, I did mention Verdance Count Your Blessings last week
man.
specifically.
Just feels different.
No, sure. It's a Count Your Blessings deck.
It's the same thing, right? You're just trying to get to like the end game where you're like more powerful compared to your opponent being out
and
of
then you want to
red
use
cards,
one of
right?
your Count the Blessings to amp off of because it amps for 1,000,000 and then you kill them. Like, yeah, it's everyone knew about this deck. I think it's very hard to win a tournament on Count Your Blessings. We've talked about this a little bit, but like because it's pretty hard to get through all the rounds and the top 8 without getting like tacked out or hated out in one of your matchups, or running into a deck that can kill you before you can get everything set up or going off. However, Count Your Blessings is 100% ending people's tournaments. Like you could watch it on stream. People would sit down, they'd play against the Count Your Blessings deck. They would just lose to it because they didn't have hate or the right deck to deal with it. It is definitely like a tournament ender deck, which is the thing I don't like about it. I just thought it was funny in the first week we saw it pop up. Don't think it is going to be something that sticks around, but it'll be something that like if you don't have the stuff for it, you can absolutely lose your tournament because you sat down across from it.
Mystic Mine, it just really sucks.
Yep. Except it's also good. But
I still want to
unchecked,
know who's enjoying this card. Like if you're
Verdance
actually enjoying the play with it, like let me know.
I think that's the answer. The Verdance deck with it is pretty sweet. Like when you do the thing, it's like
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, wait.
I have no issue with that. It's just that like you can deploy it in like more than 50% of every deck that exists. So now we're just like sideboard taxed, and you have the guessing game when you see Bravo. Like, is he gonna play Count Your Blessings? Because I think that's the expectation now. Like, if I see a Bravo, I'm assuming you're on Count the Blessings because otherwise, what are you doing? But then he might just be like all out aggro, and because I have these no blocks, now we just get looped by like weakest links.
I don't know. I think that's
crushes.
I think that's kind of just okay though. Like whatever, you have like 2 more blue no blocks in your deck. Like, who cares?
I mean, that's a large portion of your sideboard though. No, when we're already taxed by Kano.
Not necessarily. You just throw like 2 Gravekeepings in there, and you just see them early, like or not even that early. Like
yeah, but now we only have like half a sideboard left.
You can also just not play hate. You can decide to do that. You don't have to like.
You could just lose to the Count Your Blessings deck. You're right.
It depends on the deck. I don't know. I don't think it's as big of a deal. I just like.
No, it's not a huge deal. It's just annoying.
I don't know. Like if you're playing like Dawnblade Dory, I'd probably recommend at least trying to hate out. But like if you're playing like normal deck, like you just don't always need it.
It's the opposite. Dawnblade Dory does not need the hate because Dawnblade Dory automatically wins against decks that can't block. The health gain actually doesn't matter because you're stacking with them. So you
Sure,
don't
whatever
you don't need the hate in that deck.
whatever. So X deck that's bad into counter blessings. It's just like then maybe you need the hate. But like if you're playing like Levi, like you could probably just skip by just playing the game. Like who cares?
I mean, Levi is an extreme example, but sure.
I don't know.
She's like the
All
best
those
recursion package in the game.
all I know,
I
there was a
don't-
bunch of people who lost to Luke Magnuson, who was playing Count Your Blessings. They got second place at a Battle Harden. The deck is good enough that you need to put tech into your deck to deal with it.
Well, I still push back a little though, because like I think that like his like the Verdance Count Your Blessings deck and like the Teklo and the Verdance ones I think are like the two actually good.
And Dash IE.
No, I actually think all of the other Count Your Blessings decks just suck. I think they're like all the people who took like Great Axe Dory to every tournament ever. It's like whatever the deck wins.
What about Count Your Blessings Enigma that top to Calling?
Yeah, whatever, that deck sucks.
Top to Calling, you got top 4.
Man,
It beat a ton of good players.
I don't care.
It ended the tournament run of a whole bunch of people who thought the exact same way you did.
I don't know.
This deck sucks. I don't have to worry about it. And then they showed up, they lost to it, and their tournament was over.
I just don't believe.
you could absolutely do that. What about someone who has to eat a card named Rhea? Because
that's Rhea's fault for saying that Count Your Blessings wasn't good at all. That's I mean, that's on her, man. Like I didn't make her say that.
Well, either way, this is the world we live in now. They confirmed on that dev talk that they like the card, so
yeah,
we'll have to adjust.
I don't care. I'm fine with that card existing.
Yeah, you just play a deck that either naturally beats it, and if not, you have to put tech in your deck. It's just how it is. If you don't do that, unchecked Count Your Blessings is very strong. It's just kind of annoying.
Yeah, whatever. So is like unchecked, like Kano with 9 Aether Spindle. Like if nobody's playing AB,
that's what we're saying.
That's what we're saying.
We're on the same page.
I don't care. That's just how it goes.
You're not going to run Kano Hate either.
Oh, you don't appreciate your sideboard enough.
Dude, for some tournaments, I've run Kano Hate, and for some, I've been like, I'm going to be a little bit weaker into Kano. Like, it's how it's how card games work.
I guarantee when you go to Worlds, one of two things is going to happen. You're either playing a deck that naturally counters Count Your Blessings, or you're going to have Poison the Well in your sideboard.
Or maybe I'll be playing a deck that's in the middle, and I'm sacrificing some points to not play Hate. I don't know. Like,
there's no world. There's no world you walk into Worlds with a deck that just loses the Count Your Blessings. Just straight up.
It's especially because like the poison makes your matchup like 100% instead of like 0%. I think it's that significant for some decks.
I think that's just the deck building puzzle, or not even puzzle. That's just like a deck building decision you have to make. Like if I'm playing,
that is
decision is to get lucky or not get lucky. Like it's not a real decision. Like the decision you're making is, am I going to get lucky and not face any of these decks?
I mean,
that's the decision.
There like are decks in the middle though that like don't like just hard lose to Count Your Blessings, but also lose like some games. Like you play like any deck that Luke beat over the weekend, right? Like you play a Viscerai. Like you have a choice. You can play Count Your Blessings, or you can play Hate, or you cannot play Hate. Like you play just like Aurora as well. He beat that in top 8. You can play Hate, or you cannot play Hate. Like that's up to you.
He beat a Viscerai.
It might have been Levi who beat Sam. I think Levi might have beaten Sam. No, I think it was somebody beat Sam in top 8. I think it was Luke.
Luke did. Yep. I see it. Yep. Luke beat Sam, and then beat the Mirror. That Mirror match was actually really good. Like if you haven't watched that Mirror match, you should watch it. It was really well played. I
don't think the card's a problem. I mean, you could ban it if you guys want. Like I'm not gonna object to that. I don't think it's good for anything that's not Verdance, but I just don't care. I guess Teklovesen as well. I actually like it existing because it makes these poor Teklovesen fatigue players like have a deck, because like that hero just doesn't exist without this card.
I don't know if I believe anything you've been saying for like the last 10 minutes. I kind of feel like you're just playing it up for the people who are listening right now to be on the opposite side of what I'm saying.
No, I'm serious. I think it's like
last week you're like, this deck is a problem. This week it gets second place, tops the Calling. This deck's no problem at all. You don't even have to run Hate. Just ignore the deck completely. Such a weird take.
I don't know though. The more I've seen it, the more it just feels like people are just playing Flesh and Blood with the card in their deck. Like the more I play it, the more I'm like, okay, this is just like a thing. Like you play the game, it's not 100% matchup either way. Like you just kind of have like a card that's good in a lot of decks and makes the game slower, and you play. Like I don't not feel like I'm playing FAB when I play Count Your Blessings, which was something I was very worried about with limited games.
How many games have you played against Count Your Blessings? Just curious.
Probably like 10. So it's not a whole lot, but like it just every game I play with or like watch, it just like
Wait,
feels
were you
like,
playing Enigma?
no. Well,
Okay.
probably for some of them. I don't know. I haven't played very
Sure,
much.
sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Enigma's easy. Anyway,
I don't know, man. Cody got 48 0'd by that Acilio. If you just, okay, his opponent was at 48. He didn't go to 0, but his opponent was at 48.
if I just lose all my health magically and didn't win the game, but yes,
Hey,
I
man,
did
he
lose
should have
it.
48
Okay,
0'd you.
so meta breakdown. Enigma and New were the most played, followed by Aurora, and then like a smattering of other decks.
This is at the Battle Hardened.
This is at the Battle Hard, yeah. I mean, I think these new players they're just holdovers from last season, right?
I think so too. It's still a powerful deck, right? Like the Mystic Card
still a good
pool
deck.
is insane. Codex, Leave No Witnesses is still like the best play in Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense if you expected people to play a lot of like aggressive decks or like decks that weren't built super well. Or like if people are playing, if their sideboard is like Oasis Respites and Poison the Wells and they're not playing, Defense Reacts, then that makes New better. And like she has this problem where like her deck building is kind of weird, right? Where like you need certain disruption for certain decks, but like her disruption that's good is just good against everything. Like Bonds of Agony is just crazy.
Yeah. This was also like the meta defining weekend, right? Like we didn't really have a meta before this. So it's like people who either are comfortable and mostly play New, so they brought the deck they like, or they thought maybe New's good in this meta, and maybe that's not true. Who knows?
Yeah, I played a lot of New this week. I think the deck's pretty strong. It's just not the terror it was last season for a lot of these decks.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard when like Earth is just like, here's an 8 damage attack.
Yeah. That Ori.
You have like really strong mid range decks.
Yeah. That Ori
You have Aurora with like 8 blues, so like your best disruption doesn't work in the matchup.
Yep. And then when you're just like helping them transcend.
Yeah.
Like
you mean the Earth Heroes?
And she got a card band as well, right? Orihan. That's like a pretty big deal for her.
No.
Okay, that part was a little silly, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think that card should have been played.
No. But good, nice try. Anyway, let's move on to Leon. Leon was won by Pablo in the finals playing Enigma. Very good deck. There were 4 Enigmas in this top 8, which is more closely in line with what the meta should probably look like. And then we have an Azalea, which kind of makes sense. We then had an Aurora. We had a Verdance, and then somehow a Prism made it in there. I don't actually understand how the Prism topped this event. I would need to go back and try and find some more games from them, because like this is just a terrible meta for Prism. Like they must have played out of their mind to get there.
I mean, she's still one of the most powerful heroes in the game. She has a lot of play into counter blessings, I would guess, right? Just like being an illusionist, naturally, I'd have to imagine that that's like not like you have ways to be good into those counter blessings decks. If you're actually like only built, I don't know what this deck was built like, but if you're actually built like solely as a Herald aggro deck, I actually think you have a lot of play into Enigma. In the past, Herald aggro wasn't very good into Enigma because most of the decks were also just playing a normal Vestige plan with tomes and everything. But if you have a lot more go again attacks and attack reacts, I actually think you have some ways to be potentially very good into Enigma, because once your angels start hitting, that matchup's actually pretty easy. But getting them to hit is really hard if you don't have cards in your deck that are super specifically in there to make your heralds hit.
Yeah, now I know you haven't played a lot of Enigma. Everyone who has played Enigma, just roast him for the fact that he thinks that Herald aggro is real into Enigma. Like, it's just like you can just fatigue them. Like, legitimately can just fatigue them.
No, I played.
Even if they hit, it just doesn't matter.
I played a lot of it with Prism when Enigma was first coming out at Nats, and obviously the Enigma decks are better since then. And I could see Astral Etching being like a big problem of letting them like take an advantage when they do have an early lead with Ward. But like Red Angelic Wrath is like really annoying to deal with a lot of the time, and if you have extra illusionist cards like Spears is really good. Phantasmaclasm is really good in the matchup at clearing Ward. If you're not a Vestige deck, if you are just a Rapture deck, I think you have a lot of play into Enigma. You have a lot of sideboard cards that you can play.
he was both Vestige and Rapture, and he was playing. It looks like he has some of the -2s. He does have Angelic Wrath. He still has mostly all of the auras here.
The weapon is Numenera's, right?
Yeah,
That's
Okay.
actually
That's
really
the-
interesting.
that's the
That
difference.
really surprises me. I didn't think Vestige was a playable chest.
Yeah, I don't know what matchups he's playing it into.
Who gets
but
the aura? Is that right? I assume that's why.
Well, kind of. Without tome, it's sketchy. You
Yeah.
basically like what you have to do is you just have to like tome, or sorry, you have to Halo, and then you just get Soraya. You put an Arclight in play, and you just like hope somewhere along the way that you drew like blues and auras, and then you hope that you draw up and you see more auras off your Soraya, and it's pretty sus.
I mean, he had to aggro through all this KO in this matchup. I think KO was the second most played deck at the calling.
Yeah, but it didn't
And
have like terrible conversion, right?
it had a pretty bad conversion, yeah.
No.
But the Enigma was number one played. Second played was KO, I believe. Man, that just seems terrible for Prism. I'm just impressed. I'm impressed that the Prism even got there. It just seems like a really hard event to top 8.
So shout out to that guy.
Yeah, that was my main point. Was just I don't know how you got here, but it is impressive that you survived all of that. We did see the other Count Your Blessings deck, which was a Enigma, which I think some people were surprised to see, but it was like it was really good. If you watch the matchups, it was really good. It then ran into a mirror and lost, and that's kind of the issue with that version.
Yeah.
I think if you never had to play the mirror, it's actually a really good deck. Like in general, the Count Your Blessings Enigma deck that has a lot of good play there. But the mirror is unwinnable. You just fold over and die. To that, it was normal verdants here. No Count Your Blessings, which is good. But this to me looks more closer to how the meta feels.
Yeah, I mean, Verdance is showing is pretty impressive, right? I mean, for a deck that a lot of people was saying is probably potentially very poorly positioned and maybe a little weak right now. I mean, one in the top 8 when Enigma is the most played deck, and then 2 different versions, but like 2 in the top 8 of the Battle Hardened as well. That's really impressive for a new hero that hasn't been out for very long, and that like I said, people were kind of writing off a little bit. I'm pretty impressed. I know a lot of people are talking up like Florian and obviously Aurora, but Verdance coming out in force.
Florian is my most disappointing deck. That deck should be great. It has so many pushed powerful cards.
I'm so
and the
glad
deck just isn't good enough. Like
so
there might be a build out there
I think
that
it still
is
might be, but
good.
I
Like it
haven't seen
feels like
for
there
me either.
has to be. And
Yep.
we have people working on it. I've worked on it. Several people on the team are working on it. It's just like you look at the card pool and you're like, this is nuts. And then like you start playing the games and you're like, this deck sucks. Like
Well,
it's just
he has like all of the problems that everybody thought he would have at the start, where it's like it's hard to build your deck to decompose super fast and then also take advantage of the decompose and then also be aggressive and also be defensive. Like that's what we expected, right? Whereas like Verdance is like you don't have that much of a problem because you don't prioritize your decompose so much.
I want Florian to be good because I
Wait,
want
I
nothing
think-
more than to play Florian.
Dude, then why don't we just play Count Your Blessings? I mean, it's so good. You're just like Thistle Bloom life with Count Your Blessings. It's broken.
Ugh.
You plume it back. Do it again.
Terrible. I'll just play
There's so many root
Verdance.
chants.
I like Verdance as well. Verdance is great. I just don't like them. I don't like either of those decks into Enigma, to be fair.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that holds me back from really digging
There was
further into them.
there was a super aggressive decomposeless Channel Mount Heroic Florian deck that was doing pretty well at the Battle Hardened. That should in theory have quite a bit of play into Enigma. Grasp is really annoying for Enigma when your weapon is Reaping Blade. When you just have like a 0 for 4 on a stick that's 1 and 3. Oh my god. Like if that's the only arcane damage you throw all turn and it comes at the end, like oh my god, that's so annoying.
I think it was on stream at one point and it was like Tree and Channel Mount Heroic.
He was playing both. Yeah, no, the tree is also really good against Enigma because you say 4 arcane and they say, well, my ward was here and now it's not. So
yeah, it's definitely the style I'm most interested in.
Yeah.
I want to be able to like convert my cards.
Yeah.
Agreed. there's so many tools for Florian. I just feel like there has to be something great there, right? Okay. Anything else from this week's meta that you wanted to point out or talk about? This is all
I don't.
pre-dash
Kano one was that last week?
That was last week.
Interesting. Okay,
Or
and none made
week,
top 8
yeah.
in these 2 events.
Yep.
No,
I actually heard that. I heard from a lot of people that Kano was pretty good in this new meta, and then I would like to walk that back. I actually think Kano sucks.
Sure.
But-
You're welcome to have any thoughts you want.
I assume there weren't many Kano players at these events, though, right?
Yeah.
There was not. There was 2 at the Battle Harden.
Okay.
Yeah. My worry with Kano is that he's a lot more susceptible to hate now, and now that there's like multiple wizards and a lot more reasons to be playing hate for Kano, it's kind of sketchy. Just because like when your power cards are open the floodgates and they require you to deal damage with wildfire, it's like a really big. It's like an even bigger deal when they have anything like Oasis, and cards like that are going up in play. Assassin has Spell Void now. I mean, whatever, but like I mean that is relevant. Like the Assassin equipment are really good. So
I think primarily it was just that there aren't a lot of Kanos there. I think Kano is still good. And if you cut your hate, you just like get trucked on if you run into one. I think its Enigma match is harder now than it was before.
it is, yeah. Stacking. The big thing is stacking.
It's significantly
really
harder.
hard.
Yeah,
It's just so bad now. Like you just like you don't have the ability.
It takes so long as well.
It takes longer. You don't have the ability to like throw a bunch of wildfires into other stuff into blazing now. Like you can still draw cards, but like you have to hit, and you're playing against Enigma. You're not gonna hit. Your opens are not gonna draw cards. Like you just can't. There are some things you can do.
Stacked opens will hit. It's just can you survive to get to your stack now is significantly harder.
It's also it kind of depends. If the Enigma has like an Oasis on that turn, a lot of the time they don't hit.
Yeah. If you have an Oasis on that turn.
Yeah. And then it's just game over. Like you just park an Oasis and you swing your Rage Spectre every turn or whatever. But you do still have play.
I've seen them running like the indictment card. What is it? The royal card that you can just
Imperial Edict.
Edict, yeah.
Waxing Spectre is just Oasis Respite, but it's much
I've seen them running Edict now because when they're stacking, they can just do it on their turn.
Yeah, both Kanos in the top 8 of the event last week were doing that.
Yeah. So that's relevant, but for me playing the match, it was really hard before. It's still hard, but if your deck is constructed well on the Enigma side, it feels way better than it did.
The new arms is also a big deal, I think, because you can actually crack it now, which is a big deal. Like if you have ward to protect your stuff, cracking new arms and astral etching like a Mira guy or something is really good. Because if they don't, like Kano can't kill it very easily. If you have ward to back that up, the game just ends most of the time.
Agreed. And then there was also a Living Legends tournament that the Kraken Verdance won, which was a trip to see online. This was like the worst kept secret of all like top decks. I mean, we talked about it. I think Lucas, you mentioned it last week or the week before or something like that.
I feel like everyone was like kind of like making comments like, "Ooh, draw cards."
Yeah, everyone kind of knew this was probably the best deck. It didn't look like a lot of people opted into bringing it, but the one that did, it was
like a 20-person tournament, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. And then it got banned. So Lucas, tell us how much you're happy about this ban.
Me?
Yes,
Earth?
you personally.
Ice, lightning, rah. Now that Kraken ban, me can do that. So I'm pretty happy. But no, it's sweet. Like we get to actually explore LL now. Kano and Acilio are both like super sweet in LL. Obviously, all of the Runeblade decks, whether that's Runegate Chain or OG Chain or Briar or Viscera, even Florian, I've heard people talk about. I think it's bad, but it could have play. There's like a lot going on in LL now that we actually get to explore because like people kind of didn't want to explore it before because we knew that it didn't matter. You would Spell Void 8 plus Oasis of Verdance and they would 70 you. So it just like it felt bad. But now with that gone, we can actually explore. LL last format when Zen was still had bonds and everything, it felt like we were just playing Fab, but it was really fast. Verdance kind of felt a little goofy. But now I feel like we're back.
I think Zen felt goofy too.
Sure. I think there was enough counterplay that it was okay.
Not even close to this, but yeah.
But yeah, it did feel goofy. But now it feels like we're playing Fab again, and we're just playing really good Fab decks, which is pretty sweet. So I'm excited. I think that there's still the potential that any one of like 5 or 6 different decks could just be busted, bonkers, ridiculous, and it doesn't matter. But I feel a lot better about the format now. The other wizards have a lot more obvious counterplay, and pretty much nothing else except for Chain, I think, can be like stone cold broken. But yeah, I feel good about it all moving forward.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's lots of different aggro combo decks that I think could pop out and do well. Kano still worries me a little bit in LL just because it has the books and the new cards.
Yeah.
I think that's very good. But overall, it's definitely playable now, which I think is exciting.
Yep. Yeah, Kano's a lot easier to hate out than Aether Vein Verdance was as well. Like you can dedicate sideboard slots and make that matchup better than I think you could for Verdance, because it just didn't matter with Verdance a lot of the time. Like just whatever. They amp 30 sometimes. It's just like, okay, whatever.
I think this weekend is the start of ProQuest season. So it's for a lot of people the start of real testing for Worlds or for afterwards. I know it's where we're going to get a lot of our in-person reps. Dan, I think you're going to a Battle Hardened this weekend. Is that still accurate? Or you decided?
Yeah, no, I'll be in DC playing some sealed Rosetta.
Sweet.
Open a busted Majestic or two.
Awesome. I think I have my first draft PQ this weekend. I'm going to go to a portal on Sunday, which will be great. I got to figure out how to play the game before that. I would like to not show up when I still can't win games. So I guess I know what I'm doing for a good portion of this week. Are you playing any ProQuests, Lucas, this weekend?
I don't think I have any this weekend. I want to say I have like 2 or 3 in the next few weeks, but none this weekend, to my knowledge. Wait, I don't know, man. I'm just going to ask my locals, and they'll tell me where to go. I never know when anything is. I help schedule the events for my store, and I still don't know when they are. So,
okay. Well, let's dig into some podcast questions. These questions are asked by members of our premium Discord. If you'd like to be able to ask questions on the podcast, watch videos, interact with the team, find people to practice with for your ProQuests or Worlds coming up, feel free to join in the link below. The first podcast question is going to be from Benny Dub, and it's going to say when entering a new meta and learning a brand new hero, what approach would you take to streamline the process and get caught up to speed as quickly as possible?
ooh.
Brand new, or are we talking like today? Like today, you should go watch like top performing people play these decks, right? Like watch how they do it. I guess first, take a step back. I would personally, I like to do my own exploration first. Like I'll usually look at deck lists that people are playing, and then just try one for a few games, and then I'll go and try and watch some tape of someone else playing it, see how they play it. Yeah, I don't know. In terms of tuning it for the meta that we don't really know yet, that's kind of tough. I don't know. What do you guys got?
Yeah, I usually go and I say, team, what's good? So I don't have a whole lot of great advice.
And sometimes you say things like, Azalea is really good into Zen. And then we don't.
I never said it was really good. I said it was fine.
No, you said it was really good.
There's no way I said that. You better pull out some receipts.
I'm pretty sure we have a video that has a receipt of this in one of our team meetings.
I hope not.
And then 2 weeks later, we test it and go, this is unwinnable. What are we talking about here? So,
wait, Cody, what was the question again? It's how do we work on a new deck for an unknown meta?
No, it says when entering a new meta and learning a brand new hero, what approach would you take to streamline the process and get caught up to speed as quick as possible?
Well, I think those are 2 questions though, because one is when entering a new meta and one is when learning a new hero. When learning a new hero, I would first of all see what other people do, and then, like Dan said, try and make it your own and figure out your own thing and understand it on a personal level.
The biggest shortcut is finding someone you can talk to about it.
Yeah.
Like whoever your local is that plays this deck or is also working on it, just like collaborate, even if they don't know what they're talking about. Still good to hear other ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 parts here. If the hero already existed going into the new meta, you can watch a lot of tape. And that's what you probably should do. Like I have a Fidia, I think has like all the videos of everything. You
I
just
have a
like go
video
in.
that, yeah.
Yep. You just go in there, search up whatever hero you
Is
want to
it
see
Savage
and
Feats
go
now?
watch the video. It's owned by Savage Feeds now, right?
It's owned by Savage Feeds, but I think
Got it.
I
It's
think
still I have a Fidia.
the domain name still works. Yeah.
Yep. If it's a brand new hero that just got released, I typically just look at the hero and see what is this hero doing that is powerful, and then build around that at the very beginning, and then just play it with the idea of what is it doing that's strong.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
stronger
like-
than other decks, right? Like
Yes.
find the reason to play the deck, and then like I do the same. Like hyper focus on that for your initial build, and then you start building like this mind map of like, oh, these cards are good against this type of matchup, and
Yeah.
then you get the picture of like where it fits in the meta, and then you can use that.
Yeah, a good example of this would be like Aurora. Like if you like notice really early, a really powerful interaction is like Flicker Wisp plus Arc Lightning doing a bunch of arcane damage. You can just like build a deck that's just focused on doing that. Or you
I
can
would say the complete opposite. I think her strength is that she can like play Snatch.
Yeah. But I'm saying if that's what you
whatever you think the strength is.
Agreed.
You just play towards that. And then you can find other things like the fact that you get to play really powerful on hits, and then you can build more towards that if you want.
Renzo asks, what are your best choices as aggro, control, and mid-range and combo deck in a post-armory Dio meta? That's the question, right?
Well, we have an easy answer for aggro.
We'll just vacuum like the best
Dio.
deck being this thing, right? Not the best thing for the meta.
Yeah, the best thing is
Dio's the best aggro deck.
Yeah.
Dio's the best aggro deck.
Mid-range is a bad word and you shouldn't use it. Combo, probably just Kano still, right? Maybe it's Verdance. I guess the Count Your Blessings Verdance deck kind of counts as a combo deck.
What are the combo decks? It's like those Bolton.
Yeah, there's not a whole combo weird in FAB.
Yeah, like is Aurora? I guess Aurora combo is in there.
No, I think that's like.
I say it's still probably just Kano.
Yeah, I would just say Kano.
Followed very closely by Verdance because it's like whatever.
Right? Yeah, Control is also weird because it's like a weird thing in FAB where like people will say Control when referring to fatigue and to disruptive decks. New is that's also a different form of control.
Whichever category Enigma falls into, it's Enigma.
Yeah. I would say like control is like 3 things. There's like Illusionist. The best Illusionist is Enigma. The best disruptive deck is still probably New. And then the best fatigue deck is probably like Teclovescent.
Wait, I thought Uzuri was the best disruptive deck. The one the Pro Tour.
It's probably New. And then the best fatigue deck is probably Teclo. And then the best mid-range deck, whatever, man. It's like, I don't even know how to, I don't know how to answer that. Mid-range isn't a thing.
Not right
it's
now.
Like if this deck was in the heavy hitters meta.
Yeah. There's no mid-range right now. I'll tell you that. It's gone.
Probably still KO, I guess.
Fighting Walloon asks, right now, KO's only playable specialization is Knucklehead. If you were given the task of designing a new specialization for KO, what would it be?
Okay, first of all, the ready to roll disrespect is crazy. But it would probably be something involving like might tokens or 6 powers, right? Or just like some 5 power thing that's like only good in KO. I don't know. That's kind of a weird question.
I don't design cards.
Probably, I don't know. Something like that does something when you discard it.
I don't know. Yeah, KO's hero ability is weird. He doesn't have any like immediately obvious synergies. So just any brute card that you want, you could just like tweak it a little bit and make it a KO spec.
What about a
Phantom Arm? You get to swing with your claw again.
Yeah.
Wait, that's what I was gonna say. what do you call the Levia legendary that transforms her? What's that card type?
Demi hero.
I want like a demi equipment that you have to like work to equip. It's like a mech arm.
It's a mech arm.
He like becomes a mechanologist when he flips, like how Teclovescent becomes a shadow hero.
Yeah. No, you just get an arm. He doesn't. He stays the same.
Oh, okay.
He just gains an arm, a mech arm. Okay. Next question from Tweedell asks, with the results from the Calling Leon now in, did you expect KO to perform this badly? I think we talked about this last week, and I said KO's trash.
Yeah, I don't know. He's not great. I think he's He's okay, but he's not really great at anything.
Do we
I
have
think,
any stats other than like he didn't top 8?
yeah, he's just fine. I mean, you have the ability to play 2 for 6s and 1 for 5s with on hits. So, like, if we're in a meta where like Smash Up is really good and Weakest Link is really good, then KO has like tools. But I don't know. He's
Do we know how he actually performed though?
Not well. He
Like, do we have day 2
barely.
conversion or anything?
No, we do have it. I don't have it pulled up, but his day 2 conversion
Okay.
was pretty bad. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
really
at that
bad.
event, it's hard because he was like almost tied with Aurora for play rate, and I think
Yeah.
Aurora just should be slightly ahead if you
Well,
pair with that.
also, yeah, I think KO actually also struggles like the new problem. I think it's like really hard to build him for a diverse meta because the way you have to build him for a diverse meta is probably just like 6 wild rides and pulpings, and you're just like being aggressive because like his other power is being able to play disruptive cards, and it's really hard to build it, especially because KO's pool of disruption cards is like so much wider than everybody else's because he can like reasonably play 1 for 5s, 2 for 6s, and 3 for 7s. So like 3 for 7s maybe a little more sketch, but you like he just like has access to so much disruption, and it has to be like so targeted for him to like actually be able to make good use of it because it has to be so impactful because he's playing it in aggro mirrors.
Yeah, I mean, he does have the options for the 2 for 6 tech, which is nice for the deck, but you're just not getting enough power for the randomness in the current meta. Like, I think that's like really what the issue is. Like when his deck fires correctly, like if you get to choose what all your cards did, then he would be very, very strong. And so some games you play, he feels like that because like things go really well and the deck's like, oh, this deck is really good. But then like you're always gonna have games where you're just playing like a kind of medium deck because variance doesn't go very well, and that's just like not good enough in this meta. So even the highs aren't close enough to like Aurora highs if you're playing combo version.
Well, it's not
And
even
then like
Aurora highs.
it's not Aurora, but it's other deck. I'm just naming other decks.
Yeah.
Or like Verdant's like has good cards and then also has the combo to be able to kill at the end. And then we still have Kano, and then Enigma like could beat KO a good chunk of the time. It's just like it's just not good enough. Like it can win games, it can do well. It's not consistent enough to be able to perform at the higher levels that the other decks are asking it to always perform at.
Yeah, I'm not fully convinced yet, but I think that's mostly accurate. Like, Aurora's doing like 4 card 16s pretty easily. And like KO's best turns are usually like 4 card 14 to 16, where you go like attack, claw, attack.
That's
Non-blood rush turns. What do
It's
you got?
16s. He's doing 16s.
yeah.
636 is
Correct.
it's going to be 16 because of the might token.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but you're like, if you're playing KO in an aggro matchup, you're like hoping to do that line like 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, that was my point. When
Yeah, agreed.
it's too the variance is all up and down for
Where
him.
Aurora's is like, I just do this every turn. This is all I could do.
Yeah, exactly.
he has pretty
And like
easy.
Viscerai too, I think.
Yeah, he has like pretty
Viscerai
easy 14, 15s. He also gets to block, which is a big deal. Like he can have a 4 card 14 requiring 2-3 blocks, any yellow, and just a Bear Fangs, which is like pretty powerful, I think.
Yes, he can do these things. He just doesn't do them consistently enough over a long calling tournament to be able to do well. When the other decks can hit those highs much easier than he can. And then Enigma's asking him to be properly played and for variance to be good every single round.
Yeah.
So I think that's too much. Too much for the green boy. Okay. Next is Sam asks, did this weekend make you feel more like Count Your Blessings is a problem or less?
Well, you guys know
I
my
think
thoughts.
exactly the same.
Exactly the same. This is
It's
exactly
still
what I
annoying,
expected.
still going to be you if you don't have tech and your deck doesn't line up into it.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to win tournaments. I think it will end a lot of people's tournaments, and I think you'll randomly see them top 8 from time to time.
I think they're going to be like all over ProQuest.
They will be all over ProQuest. I expect them to win ProQuest. I'm talking about calling plus. Like I'm talking about bigger events.
Yeah.
When I say it's not going to win,
okay.
it's going to win ProQuest. Like it's going to beat up some local metas. It's just annoying to sit down and be like, I got to make sure I have this if my deck doesn't auto beat Count Your Blessings. Okay. Thar asks, now that Krakens is banned, what's good in LL?
I
have no idea because I lost all will to play that 4-bet after the set came out.
It's Kano, Acilio, Prism, Starvo is probably fine. Lexi, Zen might be okay. Vi,
Why are you not saying Chain?
Chain. Yep, that was important. I think
Chain
I
just
already
has
said.
to do the like aggro deck check. If these like new, very aggressive like Acelios and Auroras, if they're too fast, then
Aurora is
Chain
also good.
might go down a notch. If they're not too fast, then Chain should be like at the top still, I think.
Yep, a bunch of decks are good in LO.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lexi would be my pick for the best deck right now.
Tough to build.
Maybe
That's
Prism
spicy.
With these new cards.
Dalton asks, what are the team's expectations for World? Will we get our first top 8 of the season? And who is a teammate most likely to top 8 aside from yourself?
Yeah.
Aside from what?
Aside from yourself. So like asking which teammate will top 8. Yeah. Oh. I think I have high hopes. Historically speaking, I felt like we've had a pretty good leg up on draft. I think that we've felt good about our draft prep in the past, and this feels like draft is going to be a really big deal at this format, which gets my hopes up. And specifically, discovering draft strategies that work consistently is a big deal, which I think is something that we have had good experience with in the past. It's also looking to be a reasonably new meta where we have some data but not a whole lot, which I think we often do pretty well in as well. A big team, we can get data together and build decks a lot faster than a lot of other people can, which is a pretty big advantage. And I also think we've been getting better, most of the players individually this year quite a bit, which makes me feel good. So I think we'll do pretty well. I would hope that we would have our normal rate-ish about 50% cash. If we can get a little bit higher than that, that'd be sweet. But yeah, it would not shock me if we had a player in the top 8. And if we had 2, I'd be ecstatic, but I'd still not be shocked. And the player that I would think would top 8. Here, come back to me and you guys can give your answers.
Sure. I think we have a lot of work to do. My expectations are not great right now, but I expect that we will put in the work and then my expectations will be great. Yeah, I don't know. I think like you said though, like I think we all have been like making good steps, like improve overall. Like I feel confident about our play, but I think there's a lot to figure out with this set. Like,
yeah,
it's like completely reset everything about the format, introduce new heroes, like very deep draft format. So there's like a lot of edges to be gained and a lot of things to be missed. Like it's a very short window. We have like 3 weeks left, I think, before like travel.
I have my answer for the player.
Yeah.
I have like 2 answers. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna say Dalton and Naib both. I think have had just like absolutely killer years and are players who have previously flown under the radar compared to some other players on the team, and have also had really good results this year, and I think are not being talked about enough. But like Naib and Dalton have both had very good years, very consistent years on events that I personally know they did not prep for a whole lot always. Or we had like some luck. That's more of Naib's thing. But like they just like played very well with what they were given, and I expect good things from both of those guys.
So I'm like 95% sure, but Dalton's not going to World.
Okay, so well then I'm going to take my Dalton pick away. And I'm going to focus on Naib. All my energy behind Naib.
Yeah. No, Naib's a good pick, man. He's been like so close so many times. And it's just like one little like...
He also just like flew to 3 callings this year. And
he's put in
top 8 2 of them with almost no prep, being the only teammate there. It just like
he's such a wild card though, man. Like he plays what he wants.
Dude, he was like 3 days before one of the events. He was like, "Hey guys, by the way, I'm flying out here. What should I play?" And then he just like tops. It's like, oh, my bad. I didn't know. I was unfamiliar with your game, I guess. Like he's been going crazy.
Yeah, I think our team dynamics is pretty interesting. I think when it comes to tier 4 tournament stats, typically every year we win some number of like calling level events, which has been consistent almost every single year. And then tier 4 events, we have very similar stat distribution. Like you mentioned, 50% of people cash almost every time on the team, which is pretty good when you're bringing like 16 people to these events. And then we typically have like 1 to 3 people who are making a deep run with a shot to top 8 at every single event. It just hasn't broken that way yet. And I think those stats, doing that consistently at every single major is like, you can't ask for much more than that, because you just need a couple of things to break differently, and we would have had someone in top 8 of every single major.
Yep.
Yeah, that's we've had, like, if you look at every single event, every single tier 4 by itself, with maybe one exception, I think we've had performances that I'm very happy with. They're always like a little close, and it's like, you get, maybe the bad side of variance or something goes like a little bit wrong, and like we don't get an actual top 8, which feels frustrating when you look at it happening like 3 or 4 times.
We did get one. It was just a long time ago, and there's only like 4 of us on the team.
Yeah.
You did top worlds, yes.
I did that.
We don't forget that.
Yep.
I'm just referring to it. We're incredibly consistent. Like, of basically every event, we see the same type of results.
Yeah.
50% cash.
We're gonna break through.
A couple of people are right there until the end, fighting for top 8, and we actually rotate people, which is one of the things I like. That it's not like we have like 1 or 2 members who just like does everything, like tops everything, wins everything. It's always like different people in different spots about who's like competing the top 8. And I think that's a real benefit on the team.
Yeah.
To be able to actually do that. I think that's a good sign for how things are going.
The frustrating thing we keep seeing, and like maybe it's like not frustrating, but also like a good thing, like the deck that we bring, someone tops with it, usually multiple people, but it's not us.
Yeah.
Or even just like the build, like going all the way back to chain at PT1, like I feel like some of us spearheaded that build, and then others got the tech, and then our edge went away, and then he died. He hit Living Legend.
True. I'm very happy with most of our deck choices that we've made at every major and our prep levels. But no, I think Naive is a good choice for someone who could break through. If Dalton was going, I would probably actually say Dalton. Dalton's had a killer year, especially draft. I don't think he's lost a draft for like 8 months, like at a big event.
I think that might be true, which is just
like 6-0 like every single event, every single draft. The draft that he lost was the top 8 of the calling. And before that, he was literally like, it was like 6-0, 6-0. Like,
if it was a draft only event, I'd pick Dalton too, which maybe was the intent of him asking the question.
I'm pretty sure he 6-0 Nationals, 6-0 Amsterdam, and like, did he 6-0?
Well, he
calling.
He played
not counting yours.
He paired against me, so I think he 5-0'd.
Yeah,
because he was like, I think he was like 1-2, and then he like won out and sealed, and then won like every draft game for the rest, or like I think he was like 1-1 or something like that.
But I can say for a fact he 6-0 Nationals, 6-0'd Amsterdam, and then
I think he's pretty sure
5-0'd the calling, which is just an insane run of draft. And that's how you top. Like,
and that is absolutely how you top these events, is by doing that.
Yeah, is the draft events. And what did he do? He topped 2 of those events, so makes sense. Okay, next question.
Whoa, hold on. I gave my answer for my teammates. You
I did too.
Copied my answer, and then
Dan didn't
even give an answer. You guys both have to give different answers.
So like the only answer I can give right now is Cody or Shane, because they're the only people I've seen play games.
Okay, that's good enough for me.
I don't know what anyone else is working on, or like how they're feeling. So like that's all I got. But I think Cody and Shane are both putting in the work. So
Cody's cop out answer is acceptable. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Millen asks, are Earth Heroes a little overrated just because mid-range and control decks have bigger opportunities to show a player's skill?
No.
I think they're overrated. I don't think Florian's a real deck right now. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I just don't think it's a real deck.
Do people think he's real? I feel like they're accurately rated at not very good.
Yeah, that's what, I don't know where
Verdance looks underrated if you look at the results, although it's limited results. But
yeah, Verdance is like an enigma to me. Because like coming out the gate, I thought it should have been very strong, and then I heard people saying it's very strong, and then every time I've seen it play or play against it, it's just like actual nothing. Like until this weekend, but now we have like 2 out of 8 making top 8. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe it is strong. Maybe it's not. I should probably test the deck.
Yeah, if I was doing based on my own testing, deck is very strong into other things. People obviously think Florian is good because they're bringing it to tournaments. Like if they didn't think it was good, they wouldn't bring it to tournaments. So I think bringing Florian to tournaments is just kind of a punt right now until someone figures out how to crack something or the meta changes. Verdance, I think is better than Florian because it plays on a different axis that is a little bit harder for opponents to interact with. And also, you're probably knowledge gapping a lot of your opponents who aren't as familiar with all of the different ways verdants can be played. I know this happened a lot on stream where they would play like a heartbeat, and then they would just on the last trigger they would respond to the last trigger of verdants, and then use the amp on there to like make that verdants trigger deal 5 damage to kill people. Like this was like a pretty common thing that people were surprised to see, was holding priority around the verdants trigger to pump it so that the verdants trigger would kill people. But like, and when these things become more common, then those play patterns will probably not steal as many wins or close out as many games as before. And so right now, I would say I think the Earth Heroes are probably a little overrated. I don't see either of them unless something major happens being real actual competitors at Worlds. And I'm fine with being wrong there because I would love to, because I love both the decks. That's my issue, is I want to play Florian or Verdance at Worlds, and I would love to be proven that that's not accurate. But I just honestly don't think it fits in the meta anywhere.
Yeah, and I think it's more because of the aggro decks and like
Yeah.
Enigma, I
And
guess,
Enigma
is part of their question.
Yeah.
Enigma, Aurora, -IO. I think this is just incredibly difficult and toxic to both of those here Earth decks.
I think Aurora might be okay, but maybe I'm
wrong. Okay. I mean, good enough that maybe you can play it, but you can't play it on top of have to play against IO, on top of having to play against Enigma. You have to have a break somewhere where you actually have a good matchup, right? Like you can't just.
I don't think you want to see any of these decks at the moment.
You don't. No. Kraft asks, "What is your approach for the Enigma Mirror?" This is the simplest one. This is the easiest.
I've never played it.
Put more ward on the field than they do, and keep it longer than they do, and then win.
Get lucky. The Enigma Mirror is toxic. There are like a couple of like, you have to be this tall to ride the ride, and those are made in the deck building decisions department, like the amount of go again, the amount of like your blue options, et cetera, in order to actually have functional hands. Like those are a couple of like the ways that you can try to get tech, but for the most part, it's just like the entire matchup is who drops the big ding dong ward on the board first, and then who's a hand bricks first. Because if you're most of the game, you're playing like, I put ward out, I swing, and they go, okay, you kill my ward. I put more ward out, I swing at you. Okay, I killed all your ward. And you just do this back and forth for a little while until someone misses, and then they go, oh no, I can't break your board back, and then that it like snowballs out of control. Or the first one who sticks a mirror guy and then untaps with it like wins the game as well.
Yeah, like if you're the person who like plays a 10K and then your opponent's like, I'm gonna play a second of Tenet of Chi Wind and I'm gonna pass, and it's like, okay, well,
yep,
you done it.
Pretty hard to find real edges in that.
Yeah, I think it's similar to a lot of mirrors we've seen in the past, where like there are edges to be gained that are nice and like it feels skillful. It's just the blowouts kind of make it not matter a lot of the time.
It's hard to realize your edges in the matchup because of how big the blowouts swing the game.
Yeah, I will say when those don't win the game on the spot, it actually feels pretty good to play. I actually really enjoy it.
Does.
Because you're both playing Enigma, and she is naturally a cool deck to play, and the back and forth is nice. It's just like, if somebody just wins the game on the spot with the ward thing, it's pretty...
I mean, a good example is at Nationals. My round 1, I was playing Mirror, and my opponent got ahead of me. We were doing the back and forth thing, and he got ahead of me. He had like 2 ward out and a Miragai, and he untapped with it. And then the next turn he drew up 4 reds that were basically unplayable, and I just pushed through him, and he just immediately lost the game on the spot from a 1 board state. The board state was 1. Everything about the game was 1. Had he drawn a functional hand, I can never come back. He drew an unfunctional hand that did not play the game, and he immediately lost on the spot. And it's just like, what do? Like, nothing. If you find an edge in that mirror that you feel you can find enough equity in almost in the games that you play, then you should probably bring Enigma to all your tournaments, because you will have a huge leg up on everyone else. Okay. Noah asks, do you think it's viable to play a deck for Worlds that has close to a 0% win rate into Enigma? Does this thinking change if you think you can go 5-1 or better in draft? The answer is yes, you can absolutely do that, because we have seen things like that happen in the past.
Yeah.
Like
Missouri won the Pro Tour.
Yeah, Missouri won
but the expectant Enigma representation was not the most popular deck in the format.
The two illusionists combined was the third most played deck in the tournament.
Yeah, and both of those matchups were very bad for Uzuri.
And then there was a million other matchups below that were also really bad for Uzuri. But
sure, but Uzuri's like targeting the most played decks, right?
Correct. Yeah. But you could show up and not face any Enigmas the entire tournament. That is a thing that could happen.
I mean, it's just like maybe it's not the best choice always, but like
it is not the best choice. But viable is a different word.
For this meta, I don't think it's viable or reasonable. Well, maybe I'm wrong about the meta. Maybe the meta changes.
Yeah, I think it's very possible that the meta does change. Like if you think you have like an 80% win rate into Dio and Aurora, like. Also, I think that there's very few decks in the game that actually have a 0% into Enigma. I think she has like enough of a failure rate and enough of inconsistencies that like you can usually win games with pretty much anything that has some sort of aggression. It doesn't have to be a lot, just like some. But you can be pretty bad. But like you can definitely spike. Enigma has the problem where like if you can kind of like juice her Mira guys, this is worse now because a lot of them are playing 10k and Astral Etchings. But you can have games where she kind of like slows down and stalls for a while, where she just draws like a lot of blue and a lot of like, you know, the 0-cost blue ward that take your action point, and she kind of stumbles a little bit, and you can capitalize even with decks that are not great into her. But I would probably try to find a deck that is pretty reasonable, at least reasonable into Enigma if I was going to go to Worlds, which I am.
But I think it's viable if your other matchups are good enough. If you're like, I lose to best deck, let's say Enigma's best deck, right? It shows up the most at Worlds. I lose to this, but I beat 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think that's a viable place to sit. That is a viable.
I don't think that's real life. It's also not something I would do.
It's not something I would do either, but it is viable as a way to try and win a tournament.
Sure,
it's proven.
It's a little different. It was good against 1 and 2, and then bad against 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, just like,
that is different, but
sure,
similar.
If the meta share is similar, then like
or you could be like Fino and go to nationals and play 3 Zens in a row, and then your tournament is immediately over.
You could do that.
So that is a skill choice right there, I guess. That's how we're doing these now, right? It's a skill choice to have auto loss matchup. Okay.
Yep.
Anyway, I think that's enough from us today. I need to go grind more games because I'm trying to win this tournament.
I need to go write a
person
paper.
To get top 8. Yeah. Goodbye.
Bye.
Yeah, we're getting rid of the envelope
7
here, but
envelope.
What we could do here is go ahead and play the envelope.
All 3 pitches of envelope and darkness.